Okay guys, so we're back with the Dirtdevil Endura Express. All the parts have dried out fully. I did blow out the motor. There was like almost no dust in this motor. So now we're going to be putting it back together. We're going to be starting with putting on this front whole cover on here. That should snap on. Make sure you push it on so it stays on. And as you can see, this is sealed pretty well. And I'm going to wipe down the back of this once I put most of it together. So I think right now I just want to get all the main parts on this machine. So I do have quite a bit of screws, and I really don't know which one's which, but we'll try and put it together the best that we can. All right. So let's start by putting these in. Maybe I should turn down the torque on this. Alright, let's get these in. Alright, so now we're going to be getting some of the little screws on. But before I do that, I'm going to wipe down this part of this cover, because I'm going to put on the piece that holds on the hose and the bin, which is right about here. So I'm going to wipe that down. And then, like I said, this machine is in very good condition. And I'm very happy that I found it, even though it's a $60 vacuum. It's still nice to have one found for such cheap. So now we're going to be putting on let's see, one of these adapters. I believe it's this one. The cord hook goes on there. Actually, no, that's the higher cord hook right there. So I believe there's a screw that goes in here. I'm sorry if I'm not getting this on camera, but there's a screw that's gonna go right in here. So let me get that. Alright, so that's on. Now we're going to be getting this plate on right there. That goes right here, a cover with the bin sits on. We're going to line it up. It goes on other way. It slides in, and this one has two very little screws that go in. These screws, and there's two of them. So let's put those in. Let me find one more little one like that. That goes on just like that. Alright, so now they got that assembled. I'm going to get the filter, because I also have another filter in the basement that's still drying. So I'm going to put that on later. But right now I'm going to try and put this extension one piece on and see how it goes. Right? Yeah, no, that's the hose clip. Okay, and that's the hose clip that goes on. So I'm gonna put that in right there. I think the screw is too big. Let me find a smaller one. Yeah, it should fit. I don't know if it's too big or too short, but whatever. So then we have more screws to put in back here to hold this on. Alright, so now we have to put on this one. I mean, not this one, but this piece. It lines up right there evenly with the vacuum. That should slide in tight, just like that. And those screws are these ones with that kind of washer thing on them. And those go in here to hold this. And there's one more just like that. And it goes on right here. Okay, so now that we got this main part, we can get the nozzle together. Then we can work on putting the little itty bitty screws on. So I'm gonna back you guys up. I'm going to wipe down the bottom now of this vacuum so when the nozzle goes on, I don't get all that dirt that's on the bottom of this vacuum in the clean nozzle. I'm just gonna lightly wipe it where it needs to be wiped. So one thing I really like about this Dirtdevil, unlike most Bissels, is it has a very thick base plate. I mean, this is a very thick and kind of beefy base plate. And most of the Bissels come with a very thin one. It's very cheap and plasticky. At least that's how it feels like. So now let's get this nozzle on. So I'm just gonna line it up with this clip. That goes on just like that. Make sure that sits on there. And now the vacuum is in place. So we're gonna take these clips that we took off, align them, it goes like that, I believe. And this one had two little screws, from what I remember. They go right there. Two of the same screws on each side. And be very careful with this. I recommend doing this by hand, but I don't feel like doing it by hand. But if you do it by hand, you're not gonna break anything. But if you're doing it with the drill, have it on a very low torque setting, because you may over torque a screw and strip it. So alright, so I'm gonna find two more little screws just like that. This clip needs to snap in more. Get one more. So now that's on. Now we can flip it over and install the brush roller and the base plate. I'm trying to be careful not to break anything, since this is not the most robust vacuum there is. So, yeah. So now we're back, and we're going to be attaching this hose better. We're going to be snapping it on, and we're going to be screwing it in, and then we're going to put in the brush roll. So as you can see, this hose slides in here, I'm guessing. Let's see. Am I doing this correctly? Okay, that goes on in here. It's a little tight to fit, but we're gonna get it on. Now it's gonna go in. Come on. I'm not trying to be too rough with it because I don't want to break it. Whatever, we'll get to that next. Maybe let's attach the brush right now so you can have the vacuum standing. So I have the belt right here. This belt is still good on this machine. I'm just going to wipe it down because it's a little dirty from the drywall dust. So I'm going to wipe that clean and put it on, and I'm gonna probably have this vacuum running by tomorrow. I will do a test run with it once I get everything cleaned up and to perfection, because my the hose is I washed it, and right now it's outside drying and it's still wet, so I'm not gonna run it with the wet hose or without it put together. So there's gonna be a review coming on this vacuum. I was thinking about selling it, but I think I'm gonna instead replace this one with my Bissell Power Track Compact, because my Bissell Power Track Compact is just the bearings are starting to squeak in it, and I just pinched myself, but that's okay. The bearings are starting to squeak in it, and the vacuum's just overall going to shit slowly, because the brush roll is also like rattling. I don't know if it's the bearings in there, but all I know is I'm not gonna add any money to that vacuum. And if you guys are wondering where I got that one was a curb find in February. It was very plugged up, and like all these vacuums that I find, I think this is like the 4th vacuum in a row that it's either the filter's plugged up or something is clogged on it. I've never had one with a broken belt. I like that this one has a better flow squeegee, if I haven't already mentioned that in part 1, because it definitely helps with not scattering. So yeah, that's another reason why I like it. Alright, so now that we got the whole bottom base on it assembled, I'm gonna stand it upright in all its glory. So now I'm going to try and figure out how to attach a rear hose. It should slide in here or snap in somehow. But if I can get that on, I'll just drill it in and force it in. I think that's what I'm going to have to end up doing. Alright. Alright, so it's broke down. It's kind of in sideways. Actually, no, I think that's how it's supposed to be, because this extension one is lining up evenly. Right, evenly with that, so I think that's how it's supposed to be. And then, so this whole cover, I'm going to wipe off camera, and I'm going to polish the floor head. I'm going to also install the filter that I washed, and it just snaps on in those tabs. So now I'm gonna put together the Cyclone in it. I did wash the Cyclone out, so the filter is fully dry on here. And like I mentioned in part 1, that it was covered in sawdust, and watch that video to find out how bad it was. But this is now all dry. So now we're gonna put this little boot on. This is just kind of fuzzy, so I'm not really worried about that. As long as the filter is clean, it can actually have airflow to suck through and not be clogged. So now I'm gonna take the bin. So you can see all the rest of this bin is this middle Cyclone piece that just slides right out, and that lines up evenly with this tab. Make sure it's even and seated. So now we're going to take the cover that the filter goes on, and that twists and locks on this cover. Pretty simple. You can see there's 3 tabs. There's 3 tabs on here. Line them up and turn them clockwise, and that should lock them up. There we go. So now that is on. Then you want to take it, you want to put it on. You want to make sure that this is seated even. So you can see it's not seated even yet. Alright, now it's even enough. I'm gonna take it, set it down. Never mind. Why aren't you sitting evenly? It doesn't go this way. Okay, now it's on. You want to take it now, line it up, twist it, lock it, and there's your bin, and that goes on pretty simply, just like that. And as you can see, this machine looks like brand new. This is in real good condition. So yeah, I really like that. So now off camera, I'm going to wipe this whole base inside and the switch and everything, and then I'm gonna finish putting it back together once I'm done with that. So I have now wiped down most of the machine off camera. So now we're going to line up the cord on here. And like I said, I'm going to put on the hose tomorrow once it fully dries. But before I do that, let's put on this 2-in-1 combination tool, which that slides right on here in between the cord. Just like that. And we're gonna begin the winding process. This cord is very short. I believe it's about 20 feet. Maybe it's a little longer, but maybe 21 feet, but it's definitely very short. It doesn't reach far from what I'm seeing. And as you can see, the back is just, you also want to slide in the extension wand right here, which I'll get in a second. And then your extension wand goes right in here and line up with that and lock in just like that. And then when you want to put on the hose, you go under there. There's 2 tabs in the hose. Those lock in. I'm going to wrap it around the cord hook, wrap it on under here, and that goes in right here. So once that dries, I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to run the machine for you guys, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so we got the Dirtdevil Endura Express put together. I put on the hose on it, and everything's working great in it. I put in the post motor filter, all the attachments on here. I polished it up and everything. So now let's give it a run. So as you guys can see, this machine has pretty good suction and works very well. So I hope you guys like this put together video and the stripped on video, and a review is coming soon on this vacuum. Peace.